former United States Congressman is on campus tonight. Welcome to NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Chad Walling.
And I'm Casey Cavall. Ball State received a generous donation from former Representative Phil Sharp, and that is tonight's top story. Former Indiana Representative Phil Sharp has donated his congressional papers from his service in the U.S. House to Ball State. Bracken Library will receive the Elwood Natives papers from his service from 1975 to 1995. Before serving in the House, Sharp was an assistant and associate professor of political science at Ball State for 5 years. Former Representative Phil Sharp spoke to students and the public this morning at the Arts and Journalism Building and at Emmons Auditorium tonight.
Governor Bannon has awarded Ball State Professor Robert Hayes the Sagamore of the Wabash Award. Hayes won the award for his advocacy of improvement in counseling psychology and his dedication to education. The award is only awarded to Hoosiers that provide distinguished service to the state or governor. Professor Hayes has been a faculty member at Ball State for 37 years.
And leading advocates say states are not doing enough to reduce teen tobacco use. The American Cancer Society and the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids say the right thing to do is spend more in tobacco taxes to prevent people from smoking and help current smokers quit.
This new CDC report shows us that tobacco continues to take an enormous toll in Indiana. 167,000 kids alive today will die prematurely from tobacco use, and smoking-caused health care costs are now over $1.5 billion a year. This CDC report is a wake-up call for Indiana's leaders that they must raise the cigarette tax to prevent kids from starting and to reduce the health care costs from tobacco.
Experts say millions of kids in the U.S. will die prematurely from smoking.
And spring has just sprung, but after a day like today, it already feels like summer. Temperatures soared to 90 degrees in Gary today and set off records with highs of 87 degrees in South Bend and 84 in Fort Wayne. Temperatures are expected to stay high for the next few days. And NewsCenter's weatherman Ryan Miller is here with a look at our weather. How did Muncie fare today with the temperatures?
You know, Muncie did great today. In fact, right here in Muncie, we set our very own record. In fact, go ahead and advance that. You can see back in 1976, that was our old record. We actually topped that by a degree today, reaching up to 83. However, way back in 1988, kind of on the flip side, we saw 28. Looks like another cool down is on the way, though. Is it going to get down to 28? Oh, maybe, maybe not. Stick around. I'll let you know a little bit later on.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Ryan. Every year, millions of Americans wait until the last minute to get those tax returns in. Each taxpayer spends about 28 hours getting their taxes ready. Post offices across the country are even staying open late tonight to accommodate the procrastinators. The filing deadline is also the same time for the annual National Taxpayers Rally in Washington, D.C. Americans at the rally called for changes in the tax code.
And people here in Muncie are currently filing their tax returns. At the post office, people lined up at the last minute to file their taxes. For people that have yet to file their taxes, you still have until midnight tonight. The main Muncie office on 501 West Memorial will be the only place in the 473 zip code area that'll be open extended hours.
Well, if you're one of those people who are still running around collecting all of your receipts and double-checking your math, you might not think there's much humor to be found in taxes. Skip Loescher thinks otherwise.
Okay, so no one relishes paying taxes.
But you know, it's not the end of the world, although it is serious business to some.
With my sister being a tax administrator, generally taxes are not funny in my family.
But for the Capitol steps, it's political satire.
When IRS guys are smiling, watch your taxes multiply. If you ever missed a filing, kiss your Barney house goodbye.
I asked my accountant just yesterday, I said, am I getting a refund? And he laughed.
In Seattle, the force is with some taxpayers.
How many Imperial stormtroopers does it take to file their taxes? None. We don't file our taxes, we collect them.
The humor in Denver is a bit more stoic.
Please do not steal. The IRS hates competition.
Say you like taxing poetry?
As April 15th draweth nigh, my spirits start to droop. A poor downtrodden slave am I, in short, an income poop.
And what can you do?
So I give the address of the IRS to my friends at the IRA.
In Washington, I'm Skip Loescher.
And as funny as taxes may be, tax evasion is not. You have till midnight tonight to get those taxes in.
And as Americans rush to file their taxes, President Bush traveled to Cedar Rapids, Iowa today to talk about his tax cut. The president is trying to gather support for legislation that would make his tax cut permanent. He says the tax cut will alleviate taxpayers today.
The best way to make sure that workers continue to work in the face of a recession is to cut the taxes on the people who do the work in America, and that's what we did. The good news is that tax relief is continuing. This wasn't a one-time event. That there's more tax relief coming, and if you file out your forms, and I kind of suggest you do here pretty quick.
House Republican leaders plan to schedule a vote on Thursday to make President Bush's tax cut permanent. And the state auditor and treasurer have transferred $9 million to the state's primary checking account. They want Governor O'Bannon to use the money to offset planned funding cuts for schools, but O'Bannon has other plans. He wants to use the money to help plug a state budget deficit now projected to reach nearly $1 billion by next summer. The governor wants state legislators to raise taxes on cigarettes and casinos and suspend 2 income tax cuts to help balance the budget. O'Bannon has also called a special legislative session to begin May 14th.
Indiana will receive an additional $2.5 million to study potential I-69 routes between Evansville and Indianapolis. U.S. Senators Evan Bayh and Richard Lugar announced the federal funding today. The study will develop estimates of construction costs and potential environmental impacts in order to narrow the possible corridors to a preferred route. The study is expected to be completed by the end of the year. And from our partners at the Ball State Daily News, here are tomorrow's headlines tonight. The University Senate will hold a forum to debate the university core curriculum. U.S. Congressman Phil Sharp discusses the energy policy, and a new restaurant will bring cold wrap sandwiches to the village. Read these stories and more tomorrow in the Ball State Daily News.
Now up next, there's a new tape of Osama bin Laden.
And later, supporters of Israel held a rally in Washington today. Stay tuned.
In Afghanistan, 4 U.S. soldiers were killed after an accidental explosion in Kandahar, and a new tape of Osama bin Laden has surfaced. Also, one of the 19 hijackers from the September 11th attacks made a tape that expressed his hatred for Americans. Elaine Quijano has more.
In this latest videotape released by the Arabic-language television network Al Jazeera, Osama bin Laden appears with a top deputy who takes credit for the September 11th attacks. It's not clear when the video was made, but Al Jazeera officials say it was given to them as part of a documentary from a production company that supports bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist organization. Also included in that documentary, a separate videotaped will and testament prepared by one of the hijackers, with what appears to be an electronically inserted graphic of the World Trade Center towers in flames on September 11th. On the tape, the hijacker talks about his plans for the attacks in the heartland of the United States. In Afghanistan, the U.S.'s war on terror continues, with a deadly start to the week for the U.S. Army. Just north of Kandahar, 4 soldiers died, 1 was wounded, as they took part in an operation to clear out explosive ordnance.
It was a disposal unit that was actively working to destroy some weapons that had been found. And for whatever reason, one of them went off.
The wounded soldier was evacuated back to the U.S. base hospital in Kandahar. Pentagon officials say they are continuing to receive reports about the accident as they move forward with the investigation. At the Pentagon, I'm Elaine Quijano.
Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld says the tape doesn't provide any evidence that bin Laden is alive. And thousands of pro-Israeli supporters rallied in Washington today. The rally was organized by several American Jewish organizations. Attending the rally were many politicians and dignitaries that spoke at the event. House Minority Leader Dick Gephardt compared the September 11th attacks with the suicide bombings in Israel.
Terrorism must not be supported, condoned, or rewarded as we work for a resolution to this conflict.
Getting a cool reception from the crowd was Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz. Wolfowitz mentioned Palestinians who have died in the Mideast violence, but he also called for an end to the suicide bombings.
That suicide bombers are the single greatest obstacle to ending their suffering and to realizing the Palestinian state that the whole world is prepared to recognize.
Also in attendance was former New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, who said Mideast peace can be achieved with a practical approach.
The desire for peace must not overwhelm our common sense. Otherwise, we will fail to achieve peace.
Rally organizers are urging supporters to contact members of Congress to back Israel.
Secretary of State Colin Powell has warned Syrian and Lebanese leaders from taking aggressive action on Israel's northern border. Powell asked Syria to rein in Lebanese Hezbollah guerrillas. There have been exchanges of gunfire across Israel's northern border that have intensified in the last week. Brett Sadler has more from Beirut.
U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell in Beirut, greeted by Lebanese President Emil Lahoud, a welcome guest carrying an unwelcomed American request, spelling out action to stop Hezbollah attacks across the Lebanese-Israeli border, threatening to open a second Middle East battlefront.
It is essential for all those who are committed to peace to act immediately to stop aggressive actions along the entire border.
But that's not how Lebanon sees it. President Lahoud characterizing Hezbollah guerrillas as freedom fighters, resisting Israeli occupation of Lebanese claimed land at the foot of the Golan Heights, called the Sheba Farms. But Hezbollah's attacks violate a United Nations borderline, provoking Israeli military retaliation against suspected guerrilla targets. Lebanon's Prime Minister, Rafi Hariri, who meets President Bush in Washington Wednesday, is pushing comprehensive peace with Israel, urging the U.S. to take a lead role, insisting that ceasefires without a political solution will fail.
We need a strong efforts from United States and a strong commitment from President Bush and the Secretary. And we believe strongly that security is important. Very important, but it is not a replacement of the peaceful agreement.
Secretary Powell said that's why he's here.
To talk about ending terror and violence, but with the clear understanding that that in and of itself won't be enough. Just as you said, all the ceasefires in the world will not solve the problem until there is a political solution. And that is our commitment, and we will devote all of our energies to it.
By sounding out both Lebanon and Syria, Secretary Powell has expanded his Middle East mission. They might not like all of his message, but both capitals welcome his involvement.
Secretary Powell will meet with Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon tomorrow and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat on Wednesday. So here's Ryan with another look at that weather, that beautiful weather. Is it going to continue?
Well, it is going to continue over at least the next couple of days. In fact, today was a great day to get outside with some shorts on. A lot of people, though, are going to be taking those shorts off come the weekend. But yeah, we'll be right back. Well, good evening and welcome back to NewsCenter 43. Let's start you off tonight with a look at the weather almanac. You can see just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous day out there. 23 degrees above our normal high of 60. In fact, we told you earlier we set a brand new record today just by 1 degree. Normally today we see 41. However, we topped out, or actually bottomed out, at 63. If you'd like to get up to watch the sun come up tomorrow morning, you should head outside at about 6:02. Good luck, you won't find me out that early. Here are some of the highs for around the state today. Indianapolis and Lafayette shared that common 84. Evansville, Terre Haute, and Muncie came in at 83, and South Bend up there along Lake Michigan, well, they saw a high of 87 today. They were actually the high spot of Indiana. Absolutely great out there. In fact, speaking of great, really nice outside right now here in Delaware County. Temperature of 74 degrees, just a couple of clouds trapping that heat in. Wind out of the southwest at about 9 miles an hour. Here's what's happening with the radar right now. Really nothing that's going to be affecting us visibly right now, except way back here in Montana, just some very light rain falling out there right now. Like I said, that's not going to hit us for the next couple of days though. And in fact, with no rain comes, well, no clouds, at least for the most part of the Midwest. Some out there along the Great Plains and all that, or actually out there in the Rockies, sorry about that. Other than that though, really not a whole lot going on. There are some clouds over Muncie right now, but the scope of the satellite just isn't picking them up. So tonight, Well, not a whole lot going on. This low pressure system is going to start trekking its way towards us. As that comes towards us, there's going to be more clouds in the air. And tonight, well, we could even see a possible shower a little bit later on in the wee morning hours. At the same time, look for a low of 63. Tomorrow, this dome of low pressure has moved a little bit closer, and that's actually going to go ahead and scoot on right over top of us, and we're actually going to see some precipitation from that, like I said, a little bit later on tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, the sun is really going to be trying its best to come out. I'm going to go ahead and say, though, that the clouds are going to be blocking that out. Probably not going to see a whole lot of sun tomorrow. Temperature of 67 degrees with winds out of the south at about 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow, you can see we've got a high of 82 with winds out of the south at 15. Should see just a little bit of sun, but we are going to throw in the chance for a late thunderstorm to make an appearance in there. And guys, for that 3-day forecast, take a look at that. On Wednesday, we could possibly see a strong thunderstorm with a high of 76 and a low of 58. On Thursday, we should see a high of 78. Go ahead and put in some partly sunny skies there. And on Friday, the rain may come back with a high of 68. However, on Saturday, we could see highs just reaching up to the upper 50s.
And I think that's what you meant by they're going to be putting their pants
back on
instead of wearing the shorts.
Sounds a little better
So
than
when they take the shorts off, they put the pants on.
I gotcha. Okay.
Face that, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
We're now joined with Jason for a look at sports. And Jason, of course, it was obviously a good day with weather. I saw Casey out playing some baseball today.
Did you?
And there was some good baseball action as well this weekend, is that right?
That's right. This weekend, Ball State had a great weekend, taking 3 out of 4 games, and that got a couple of Ball State players some MAC honors, and I'll be back with that and a lot more right after this break. The Ball State baseball team took 3 of the 4 games against Miami of Ohio this weekend. Cards pitcher Brian Bullington, the reigning MAC pitcher of the year, kept Miami in check by allowing only 1 run in a rain-shortened 7-inning game. Bullington is 23 strikeouts shy of setting a new MAC record.
Well, it's obviously a great honor. I mean, as a junior doing it in only 3 years, hopefully that'll be something I'll be able to put in my back pocket and move on. But we're just trying to win some games right now and really enjoying how we're playing right now.
You know, he's a great pitcher, and it's to be a tremendous honor to have the MAC record in strikeouts, simply because there's been a lot of great pitchers throughout the years in the Mid-American Conference. Several played and had successful careers in the major leagues.
And for his efforts last week, Bullington was named MAC Pitcher of the Week, while teammate Matt Deckman took Player of the Week honors. Bullington earned his Pitcher of the Week honor by striking out 12 batters in his 7 innings of work against Miami. Deckman took hold of the honor by hitting a blistering .643 last week during BSU's 5 games. Deckman recorded 8 runs, 6 RBIs, 3 doubles, and 1 home run. The Chicago White Sox entered today's game with Baltimore by winning 4 out of their last 5 games, and today there was no doubt they were going for 5 of 6. In the first, Canerco gets a single right up the middle, scoring Kenny Lofton to put the White Sox up 1-0. Then in the second, Carlos Lee sends this shot towards the gap to score Durham in the big hurt and really open the floodgates for the White Sox offense. Then in the fifth, Canerco sends this ball into orbit for a 3-run shot, bringing the score to 13-0. But the Orioles salvage a little dignity in the top of the ninth with this Jay Gibbons shot to right field. The White Sox totally humiliated Orioles pitching by banging out 15 hits. Orioles starter Jason Johnson lost his 9th straight decision since August 6th, giving up 6 runs, 6 hits, and 3 walks in 1 1/3 innings. There were a lot of people running in Boston today, a lot further than I would ever care to run competitively. But if you're into running, you should have been in Boston for today's Boston Marathon. You could sum up this year's Boston Marathon in one word: Kenya. Both the men's and women's races were won by Kenyans. For the men, it was Rogers Ropp with a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 2 seconds. And for the women, Margaret Okayo finished in 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 43 seconds. Her time was 63 seconds better than the previous course record for women. And if that wasn't enough to convince you that the Kenyans were a major force in the marathon, the men's top 4 finishers were each from the East African country. The Midwestern Intercollegiate Volleyball Association Championship banner, which hangs in Worthen Arena, will soon have the year 2002 printed on it. Ball State's men's team ended the regular season Saturday with a 30-18, 30-21, 30-25 crushing of IPFW, and with the victory secured its 21st MIVA regular season championship and its first title since '97. BSU shares the overall crown with Loyola Chicago with a 14-2 league record, but earned the #1 seed and the right to host the MIVA tournament, which begins on April the 20th.
That's great. I didn't realize our volleyball team was so good.
Yeah, they're really rolling this year, and they beat a lot of good teams, and it
All
shows
right.
with the record.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. And Coca-Cola has a new flavor.
And Ryan Miller will have one final look at your weather. We'll be back in a minute.
Well, if you're headed outside tonight, if you're going out late, take an umbrella. Look for a low of 63 with a southerly wind. Tomorrow, some more thunderstorms, probably later on in the day. Some sun other than that with a high of 82. And then for the 3-day forecast, look for some more rain on Wednesday and Friday with a high of 68.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks a lot.
And Coca-Cola has added a new flavor to their soft drink brand. Next month, the Cola Company will introduce Vanilla Coke, which will have a little taste of Coke with vanilla. Vanilla Coke has been a longtime favorite for fountain soda drinkers and will hit the shelves May 15th. Coca-Cola sells more than 2 billion cases a year in the U.S. alone. Thanks for joining us for NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Casey Caval.
And I'm Chad Walling. NewsCenter 43 is an official CNN Student Bureau. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for NewsCenter at 5:30.
Good night.